Hello, I made this video for first year MSc Computer Science students. In this video, I give a lecture on a process environment control relationship in advanced operating system. So let's begin. First, we need to study about what is a process. A process is a program in execution or a asynchronous activity or the entity to which processors are assigned, or the dispatchable unit means gives input and get the output from this, that is dispatchable unit, give or a send. That is, if I do some activity, little bit activity with the computer, it is also called as a process, because if for example, I open a notepad and writing some lines in it and save in its computer memory, means it needs some memory address, some space, it needs some resources, registers to store this notepad, and some processors are assigned to it to execute that whole saving and opening, closing operations. That's why every activity is done with the computer or save in computer memory or done with the computer memory is called as a process. I think you got the idea behind this is a asynchronous activity, dispatchable unit, or the entity with which processor is assigned, or a program in execution stage. I think you got the idea behind what is a process. So this process is active entity and program is a passive entity, because program needs processor resources. That's why it is a passive, and process is itself a executing activity. So it is an active entity. So let's see this process contain current value of PC, that is program counter, which is a pointing to currently executing instructions. Second is the content of processors registers to store the data. Third one is the value of a variable. Fourth is the SP, content temporary data. SP, that is stack pointer. Fifth is a data section that contains global variables, the variables which are accessible outside of that program. That's why the data section for that contains the global states and context. First, if a process which is in ready state, after that it can change its states from one to another, they must consist of code for a program, means for a program which I want to execute, it always have a code. Because of code a program is made. So a state of a process consists of, first is the code for a program static data. Program static data means the data which is cannot change after the not during the runnable state, in the runnable state, or the program dynamic data means the data which can change in executing or in runnable time. Fourth one is the program procedure call. Fifth is OS resources in use, means the process who change the state, that process uses some resources. Sixth is the content of PC, that is program counter. Seven is the content of PSW, that is process status word, which is actually a architecture which is used to means to focus or to maintain the registers status, means this is for just checking or controlling the register status. That next concept is process goes through a series of a discrete process steps. If I need to study about this process, so it is a important topic to check what are the states of a process. These are the discrete processes and through which a process always goes on. Means first is a new state. If I start some program or start some activity, means this is a program, my program is in new state. Second, if I do something with variables, some values, it is in a running state. If it is interrupted by another process or another some activity or another, because of some another reason, the process may in a block or a waiting state. If it is resuming, then it is a ready state, and if it is terminated because of it completed its last statements execution, then it is in a terminal stage. Though these are five are a process stage which in which process must need to go. First is a new state, running state, block or waiting state, ready state, and terminal state. So next, check these all states. Here we have a figure. The first ellipse shows the new, second is ready, third is running, waiting, and terminating. When a process is initialized and admitted, the process is converted from new to ready state. After, if any resuming or any means value changing variables are assigned in that process, it may ready state, it may goes in from the ready state to running state. If it is interrupted by IO or event wait, it may goes in from running state to waiting state. If event or IO operation complete, then that process may goes from waiting state to ready state, and after that ready state again will convert this process into running state, and if it is executed each and every statement in it, then it will be in a terminated state. The termination will be normal termination, or maybe it is interrupted by another process. So process creation. There are four principal events who let down the process for the initialization and creation. First is a system initialization, means system booting. Second is a user request to create a new process, means if I want to open a new notepad, then it will be my user request to OS for a creation of new process. Third one is the initialization of a batch job, and fourth one is execution of a process creation system called by a running process, means a running process can execute a process creation by calling in it. Here we have some processes, some are a foreground process and some are background processes. These foreground processes are directly interact with the user, but some processes are in a background, stay in a background and in a sleeping state. But if some action or activity or event or a signal occur, they suddenly become active, and these background processes are called as a daemon. A process may create a new process by some create process or a function called as a fork. This means a process who create another process by using this fork function or fork process. The newly creating process is called as a child process, and the process who creates another process is called as a parent process. Next concept is, after the process creation, we study this process termination. A process is terminated when it is finishes executing its last statement, thus returning to its resources to the system and its PCB is erased. That is, if this process is terminated normally, one program executed its each and every statement or each and every instruction. After that, all instructions are completed, means thus the process or a program returning its resources to the system and the PCB block is free or erased. That is process termination. But some reasons are for this process termination. That is, reasons to terminate the existing process are: first is a normal exist. Most processes terminate normally because they have completed their job. Second is error exists when a process discovers a fatal error. Third one is a fatal error. What is fatal error? That when error because or a cause of a bug in a program, a bug like if you are calling some function or a variable which is not existing, then may fatal error is occur. Fourth one is killed by another process. A process telling to OS to terminate the another process is called as a kill process. A process who stop the execution of another process by a system call or a telling to OS. This is called as a killing process. These are the fourth process terminations reasons: normal exist, error exist, fatal error, and kill. process control block. Every process in OS operating system is represented by a data structure known as the process control block. This PCB contains information about the process. So these 8 points or 8 things are contained in PCB about the process. First is the current state of a process. Whether that process is in a ready state, waiting state, whatever, means in a block state or in terminate state, that's current state of a process. Second thing is unique identification of a process in order to track the correct information. Means every process who created in that system or in a computer have a unique identifier which gives an idea about that process, from which we can track the correct information for our reuse or for our further evaluation of another program. Third one is a pointer to parent process, a pointer to child process if it is exist. Child process if it exists, then a pointer. Fifth one is the priority of a process, a part of a CPU scheduling algorithm in PYBCS. In CISPRO, I think you all are studied this CPU scheduling. These algorithms give the priority to process which executes first or which executes last. Sixth point is a register save area, the register who have some data content in it. 7 is a pointer to locate memory of a process, a pointer who points to the process memory or the process whose address in which memory. Second is eighth point is a process it is running on. Means a process, which process is running on, which process in sleep state. So these are the 8 points for a process control block. First one is the current state of process. After that, unique identifier, we can say that PID, a pointer to parent process, pointer to child process, priority of process, register save area, pointer to locate the memory of a process and the process which is running on. So this is a PCB. Process ID, PID. Each process is represented by a unique identifier called as a process ID. There are two basic processes. First is the idle process and second is the init process. And this init process have these 4 directories to locate, means sbin init, etc init, bin init and bin sh. These are the 4 location of our init process, because first 2 are the default location for init process and the last 2 are some probably or lateral location of the init process. If we want to get the process ID of any child process or parent process, this can be obtained by using a getPID call. For this, we need to include unistd.h, systype.h, because this files contain the PID types definition. So we need to include in it. PID is a type. getPID is a system call which gives us the process ID of that executing or created process. Changing the size of process may possible in Unix, because the process may increase or decrease the size of data during its execution. So a process which is increase or decrease the size of data region by using brk system call. So we use this to brk and sbrk. brk ends or old ends equal to sbrk increments. In this brk and sbrk are the memory management system calls which are used to change the size of that process or program, and they change this size of program to by using a break value. Okay. We studied before it what is a shell. In CMD prompt we have a dollar prompt for it. Shell is just a interface who gathers the input from user and execute that program by using that input, and when the program is finish its execution, it displays the output to user. CMD is the best example of the shell. This shell uses a dollar prompt. Shell I have two types, bond shell and C shell. Bond shell include bond shell, conch shell, POSIX shell and bond again shell, and for this dollar prompt is used. Otherwise for C shell the percent prompt is used. Let's see next, running the new process. If you want to get ID or means creation of the new process, we use the fork function for that. We need to include unistd.h for this. So let's study the fork function. First we need the unistd.id.h because the fork function fully defined in that header file, and PID get is a type, fork is a function, in bracket void because we no need to return any parameter. So let's start with the fork function. A new process is created by using fork call called as a child process. Newly created process is called a child, and fork written twice. Once written a value in child process which is 0, and whereas written another value in parent process which is the process ID of a newly created process, that is child process. So let's see the one program or one sample program to understand the working of a fork program. Here we include two files stdio and unistd as I told before. For a fork function we need to include this file, and stdio you all know about that. If we are using the C function then we need to include this stdio. Let's start with the main function int id. We get an id of integer type. After that we simply print the hello world for our consideration. Id equal to fork. The new process is created here by calling this fork, and which is written into id, and here we check id is greater than 0. Obviously yes, then it comes to in that bracket, and here we simply print that this is a parent section, and in square bracket we print the process id equal to %d, %d in new line comma get PID, which means we get here process id of a parent process by using the function, by using the system call get PID. Okay, if id greater than 0, child process, and next we simply print another statement is for parent process id %d on a new line by get ppid, means process id of again old parent process. So here some students have a question about that written 0 written is a process who created new process. The newly created process is called as a child process, and the process who created new process by using a fork system call, it is a parent process. Let's see the written of a fork function. Fork function written twice when a process creates to another process. So it's written twice. First written in a parent process by process id of a child process, and for child process it's written as 0. Why? Because that 0 indicates this function, this process is a child. So I think you got the idea behind this working and writing of the fork. Let's come to our program. If else if part is end, and lastly we have a else of first if, means our process id is greater than 0, we get first block, else if equal to 0, we get the second block. But if it is not greater than 0, means less than 0, here false creation fail, error for creation fail. New line we print it in our ways. And lastly if we mention a int main, so here we need to written 0 or some value, because we take the main function written type is int, so here we written 0 to execute this program completely normally. And here last bracket for the main function is closed. Let's see the output of this program. First we simply print hello world, that's why it is a hello world. Second, we call the for function. So the process the parent process created new child process and which is written into id greater than 0, yes. So this come to first block, and this is the parent which prints this is the parent section and process id of that process. After that, it is come into else if part, id equals 0, which id? The id of newly created process, that is child process, is 0. Yes? Yes. That's why the second statement, fork created process id equal to 1253. And after that, again we print the fork parent process id, comma, get ppid means again the process id of a parent process, which is also 1252. Here second and fourth line print the same value because it is a process id of a parent process, but the third statement for created is the id of a child process because that child process have a written value equal to 0. For function written the value into id, and that is 0, that's why it is written the unique identifier value in memory of the child process, which is a 1253. Here we need to focus on parent section or parent id have a 1252 and child process have a id 1253, which means this process have a two different process id, that is uniquely identified here. So this is the output of our program, and I think you got the idea behind this fork function. These topics you can mention or comment in a comment section by subscribing it. Thank you.